Good morning and welcome to another Daily Devotions with Pastor Joe. I'm Pastor Joe, and for this morning's devotions, we're continuing in the life of Elijah with 1 Kings 17, verses 17 through 24. It says, "And it came to pass after these things that the son of the woman," now we'll remember that Elijah has been with this widow woman for some time, and her son, who had the small vessel of oil and of the flour that has not run out all of this time. But it says, "The son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was so sore that there was no breath left in him. And she said unto Elijah, What have I to do with thee, O thou man of God? Art thou come unto me to call my sin to remembrance and to slay my son? And he said unto her, Give me thy son. And he took him out of her bosom, and carried him up into a loft where he abode, and laid him upon his own bed. And he cried unto the Lord, and said, O Lord, my God, hast thou also brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourn, by slaying her son? And he stretched himself upon the child 3 times, cried unto the Lord, and said, O Lord my God, I pray thee, let this child's soul come unto him again. And the Lord heard the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came into him again, and he revived. And Elijah took the child, and brought him down out of the chamber into the house, and delivered him unto his mother. And Elijah said, See, thy son liveth. And the woman said to Elijah, Now by this I know that thou art a man of God, and that the word of the Lord is in thy mouth is truth." Now there's a lot of things to notice here, and really both Elijah and the widow woman. See, first we're talking about this widow woman who Elijah has really rescued from death. At this point, God sent her into her life in order to perform this miracle of not allowing the oil and the flour to run out. So she continues to make food for them for this whole period during this drought. And so Elijah was there really saving her life. And she says, Oh, what have I got to do with you? Are you here to kill my son? Even though he has prolonged her son's life indefinitely, even though as a result of Elijah being there, her son has not died all of this time, she's unthankful for what has happened, ungrateful for what has happened, shocked at the loss of her son, and trying to blame it on Elijah. And that's not the place to blame it. That's not the place to put the blame. But God is using this moment in the widow woman's life in order to show her that Elijah really is a man of God, in order to show her some things of God that she would not have seen otherwise. And the same thing, not quite the same, ends up happening a lot of times in our life. We'll go through some struggles early on in our life in the church and as Christians where things happen where we say, why on earth could this be happening to me? Only for it to turn around to something great to glorify God in the end. So Elijah does the right thing. He doesn't say to her, oh yeah, absolutely, it's your sin that has slayed the son. He doesn't get defensive. He doesn't get angry. He takes her son, takes him up to his own room, lays him out on the bed, and prays over him, and stretches himself out, praying and crying to God and saying, Lord, please let this child's soul come into him again. And the Lord heard the voice of Elijah. The soul of the child came into him again, and he revived. And he brought the mother down, her son, and said, Here you go. Yeah, see, he's alive. He's fine. There's nothing wrong. And she said, Now I know that you're a man of God. And the word of the Lord that you're preaching to me, that you're teaching to me, is the truth. You know, sometimes we'll go through a really rough struggle in life, and it might be there for no other reason except to show the world that we really have God on our side and that we're really relying on God. Because there are times in our life where we'll struggle and we'll face a difficult trouble the way Elijah is here, where this could have turned out very badly for Elijah. And yet the whole point of it is just so that on the other side of things, people can look and say, wow, look how they trusted God in the middle of that, and God delivered them. So sometimes we'll face those kind of things in our life. Elijah here performed perhaps one of the greater miracles of his time, bringing a child back to life, back from the dead, even though he didn't necessarily do it. He prayed it, and God brought the child back, obviously. But it's one of the greater miracles that's attributed to Elijah here, between the drought and the fire from heaven and this. Elijah was never ceasing to amaze, not because of anything special of himself, but because God used him, he was available and open to use by God, and that's what really made him special and worthwhile. And able to do such great things is that he was ready and willing to be used by God. So I'd have to ask us this morning, are we ready and willing and open to be used by God the way he wants to use us? Even if it means struggles and trials and problems that we're going to face like this, that are just heavy and hard to bear. I know that I want to be, and I pray every day that God will help me to be more willing to face any struggles or trials that I face. And I think it's a good thing to do, to continue to just ask the Lord to help us to be willing. You know, if you're not quite sure if you're willing, ask God to help you be willing to face even the most difficult of circumstances. Elijah was willing, Elijah faced it, and even in fear he came to God and said, God, I'm trusting in you, please do this. And we know that we can have that opportunity to do that, to come before God and say, God, my trust is in you. Please perform a miracle at this time. Anyway, throughout this day, I hope you have an excellent day in the Lord. I hope everything goes well for you, and I hope you don't ever have to face something as desperately difficult as Elijah had to face. God bless. I hope you have a great day in the Lord. Join me again tomorrow for another daily devotion with Pastor Joe. Have a nice day.